Wait, are people gonna find this guy attractive? Was that a thing with Ted Bundy? Didn't people like find this guy, like that guy attractive? They were like, oh, Ted Bundy. But it was fucking like just crazy fucking shit. Probably. Let's go.
Pursuit of his own selfish deeds.
Oh wait.
He prowled the streets of South Korea in pursuit of his own selfish deeds. But what lengths would one be willing to go in order to achieve their desires? And if brazenly inhumane, how long can these acts go undetected? My name is Adrian, and welcome back to another video by Coffeehouse Crime.
Yeah, they did that.
Today
That's
we look
how
at a case
he
that's
got
barely
victims to
known in the
trust him.
Western world,
Well, because he
but
was
is
just good
notorious
looking,
in his home
apparently.
country. Kang Ho-sun had
That's
always
crazy.
treated women like dirt, but in the year 2015, he would embark on an unthinkable journey that would end the lives of 10 innocent women. And many
10 fucking
locals
hell.
in the area now refer to him as the Ted Bundy of South Korea. So, who is this evil man? How did he get away with murder 10 times? And who are his undeserving victims? This is the case of Kang Ho-sun.
There you are, guys. Magic. Kang Ho-sun. There we go. Let's go.
Our story today takes us over to East Asia, to the bustling country of South Korea. When you think of South Korea, the vibrant city of Seoul often springs to mind. Seoul is South Korea's capital city, and over half of the country's population live here within its national capital area, also known as the Gyeonggi region, a densely crowded metropolis which is rich in culture and business. Very reminiscent of a kaleidoscope, Seoul features futuristic skyscrapers, which rise like monoliths above luscious parks and clean streets. And found on the outskirts of Seoul, we encounter Kang Ho-sun. Ho-sun lived in the southern area of Gyeonggi region, and although living here as an adult, Ho-sun was actually born 100 miles southwest in the rural town of Sikomyeon, a tiny town basically out in the middle of nowhere. Born on the 1st of March 1970, Ho-sun had a relatively normal upbringing. There was nothing extraordinary about him. He was the third of 5 siblings, and living in rural Korea, Ho-sun attended an agricultural high school, where his family had hoped that he would stay in the area after he graduated. Before graduating in 1989, Ho-sun was described by teachers as having a neat appearance with a sincere disposition. And although his education went relatively well, he couldn't find any passion in local work around his hometown. And so, much to his parents' dismay, he seemed to stagnate after graduating, instead taking the easy path
Don't have
and working
vents.
for his family.
Damn.
This lack of ambition was in fact so apparent that instead he enlisted into the South Korean military, taking the role of a non-commissioned officer, a position that involves working within the military. However, this role would be brief, as in true country boy fashion, Ho-sun was dishonorably discharged after he was caught stealing cattle while on vacation, thus ending
Stealing cattle? Dishonorably discharged because he was caught stealing cattle. The fuck?
his military career less than 2 years after joining. In the years following 1991, Ho-sun would pass from job to job, mostly earning his living as a truck driver. And not long after, he would eventually meet his first wife. They married a year later at the young age of 22, their relationship flourishing enough to welcome 2 baby boys into the world. But throughout the years, the young family had its fair share of problems. Local neighbours often overheard the young couple arguing, mainly over their exhaustion of raising 2 sons. And, unfortunately, this situation would end in their divorce shortly after the birth of their second son. After divorcing his wife in 1998, Ho-sun took the opportunity to move up north, to a small town named Bibongmyeon, found in the Gyeonggi region. The decision was made that he would take both of his sons with him, and with his wife out of the picture, Ho-sun wanted to fully leave his previous life behind. He hated living in the countryside, and he wanted to give his sons a different, more modern upbringing. It was during these first couple years up north that Ho-sun eventually met and fell in love with another woman, and once again, he was very quick to marry the new love of his life. And just like clockwork, Ho-sun's second wife fell pregnant, resulting in many arguments between the two. However, unlike last time, Ho-sun would now have to work overtime to financially support his family, and this frustrated him greatly. I'm sure you can already.
Oh, poor you. Poor you. Wrap it up, you know? Just wrap it up. Like, face your consequences, you know? It's also just crazy that this guy actually has kids, you know? He's murdered 10 women and he's got kids. I also just feel bad for those kids because, like, those kids might turn out completely fucking fine. They might turn out completely fine, but they're gonna have to live with the fact that their dad is a serial killer, and they're probably going to be bullied for it for the rest of their lives. Not even just bullied, freaking tortured technically for having a family member like that. Crazy.
Guess where this is going. Ho-sun didn't stick around. He asked for a divorce, left his pregnant wife, and took his 2 sons with him.
You're complaining about supporting a family and yet you take your children with you. Interesting.
He also took this second failed marriage as a sign to improve himself, but first he needed more sustainable work. And so, moving 10 miles north, he purchased a small area of land near the Banwell Reservoir, which is our setting for today's case. Raising a small number of livestock on his land, Ho-sun became somewhat of a farmer, looking after pigs and cattle, along with a few chickens and bees. And to add to this, he also made it a habit of his to pick up stray dogs whenever he came across one. However, this act is not as innocent or kind as it seems.
Don't kill the
Let
dogs.
me elaborate. This is one of Ho-sun's most famous pictures. It's one of him with a Siberian husky, and his actions following this image are much darker than one would imagine. Being a farmer, Ho-sun would have no issue in killing.
Guys, look at his eyes. Is it just me, or does that look like it belongs in a horror movie? Do you guys see his eyes? They're like pitch black. It's actually scaring me to look at this picture. I cannot lie. The dog is scary. The dog is cute. Leave the dog alone. The man is scary. Look at like the dog's like. It's funny. The man is fuck. This guy's fucking eyes are creeping me out.
Are much darker than one would imagine. Being a farmer, Ho-sun would have no issue in killing livestock, but very disturbingly, he eventually found new and very dark ways of doing it. And tragically, even these stray dogs would meet their end in his hand.
Oh, leave the dogs
In
alone.
another picture with this dog, Ho-sun is seen wearing blue rubber gloves, and his reasoning is malicious, as soon after, this husky dog found itself on his dinner table.
Oh
It is well
no.
documented that many serial killers begin their morbid curiosities
With animals. Yeah.
and Ho-sun was no exception, as a lot of the animals in his care eventually became his victims. Owning a small farm financially supported Ho-sun for several years, and in the early 2000s he would somehow meet another woman, who he once again hastily married. And luckily this one didn't result in any children. But arguments would once again become a staple in their household, and the new Mrs. Kang found Ho-sun unbearable to live with, which resulted in divorce number 3. Although very likely his fault, all of these divorces had given Ho-sun a very negative view on women. He was
I'm sorry, but the problem is you, broski. You can't convince me it was the woman. You can't. 3 ladies? No. No. I. Oh. What is wrong with these people?
miserable with his love life, resented women for rejecting him, and hated his former wives for leaving him to raise their children all alone.
He took the he took his second wife's children with him. He blamed the women, right? Took the children with him, said that he didn't want to have to like support his family, and then continued to take his children with him. Is bro. I don't even know what to say. Man is an idiot. What did you think was gonna happen? Fucking hell, Jesus
It was
Christ.
during this time of despair that Ho-sun met his fourth wife, Hye-jin. And although Ho-sun held a distorted view on women, he somehow managed to convince this one to marry him. That's not to say that Ho-sun was socially reclusive, as he was often described as both friendly and very charming, being able to smooth talk his way in or out of any situation. And of course, this gave him an advantage with women. Hyejin happened to be a business owner herself, managing a massage parlor where she offered services along the lines of Thai and sport massages. And Ho-sun found this to be particularly attractive, as previously he was the only one to earn money in his relationships. It helped so much that Ho-sun found himself learning a few things from his wife and taking up regular work within her massage parlor. Of course, on the side of upkeeping his own farm. So, at least for Ho-sun, maybe the lucky number was 4. Things seemed to be going very well for the couple. Not only did they resonate off each other's personalities, but they also functioned very well together and learned new skills from each other. More or less, things seemed perfect. And that very much was the case, until tragedy struck the young family in October of 2005. On the 30th of October 2005, Ho-sun was tending to his livestock, as was the usual for every other day. And not living far from the farm, she picked her up before the two headed out for some coffee. The two soon enough returned to her mother's home, and walking in, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Business as usual. The two boiled a kettle of tea while carrying on with their conversation. But suddenly, as if out of nowhere, the captivating smell of smoke filled the room, and, before they knew it, a raging fire had broken out in the
Oh,
residence. It was
oh,
fast-traveling and explosive. Very quickly, a large portion of the house was engulfed in flames, and the section of the home that it consumed just so happened to be the room that Hyejin and her mother were in. And with no time to escape, they were both trapped in the household. Despite emergency services' best efforts, both Hyejin and her mother perished among the flames. Firefighters found their bodies after taking out the fire. Being called by Hyejin's distraught family, Ho-sun rushed to the scene. But upon arriving, Ho-sun seemed almost unemotional. An initial investigation was conducted at the scene, and the cause of the fire was concluded to be accidental. But this wasn't enough for Hyejin's family.
interesting.
Given the speed, spread, and aggressiveness of it, they were convinced that someone had planted the
Foul
fire.
play, surely.
But after a 6-month investigation, no extra information or evidence could be found to suggest foul play, and ultimately, the investigation was closed.
Who believes that? I don't know if I believe that. I mean, he wasn't on scene, but it could have been premeditated. He could have done something. Poured a little something places. I don't know. Sounds a bit suspicious to me.
The death of Ho-sun's wife
Must have been the
seemingly
wind.
allowed him to spiral
Inside a
further
house?
out
Yeah,
of
sure, we'll go with
control.
that.
And almost a year after his wife's death, he had taken his frustration out on numerous animals, killing as many as 50 dogs.
No! Not the dog. Leave the dogs alone. Just leave the dogs alone, okay? We all know I'm a dog person, so this is actually making me genuinely sad, but, you know.
And a staggering number of other livestock. However, this wasn't satisfying Ho-sun's dark nature. And after giving in to his darkest thoughts and fantasies, Ho-sun decided to leap from animals to other humans. He eventually found himself leaving his home to venture out in his car and prowl the streets. This was when he spotted Jung Hyun-yoon, a county office employee who was on her way to work. Ho-sun already knew that he was soft-spoken and a friendly-looking man, and he had extensively planned to use this to his disposal. Pulling up beside Jung Hyun, he offered her a lift to wherever she was going, and seeming well-natured, she accepted his offer. But as soon as she was in his vehicle, Jung Hyun knew she was in trouble. Ho-sun started to drive in the opposite direction, and after she'd become suspicious, he snatched her phone out of her hands. As Ho-sun drove to a remote part of the Gyeonggi province, the situation turned violent. Jung Hyun was tragically assaulted, strangled with her own stockings, and murdered. Throughout this entire ordeal, Ho-sun was calm, collected, well composed. He had been planning this, and for a very long time. He took Jung Hyun's body into a wooded area near his home, and once there, he removed her fingertips to prevent his DNA from being found. After that, she was buried in a shallow grave. Ho-sun then travelled back home and pretended like nothing happened. He just carried on with his day as usual. He returned to his daily life without any falter, going back to managing his farm and the massage parlour left by his wife. Ho-sun decided to lie low for a while, scoping out local news and police activity to gauge if any suspicions had been raised. And after concluding that he had successfully gotten away with murder, he realized that he could do whatever he wanted without any consequence. And this idea thrilled him. It thrilled him so much that 2 months later, he took to the streets once again. On the 14th of December 2006, he found himself in the low-lit streets of Gunpo, a small city located just south of Seoul. But this time, he would target the local bars and karaoke clubs. Ho-sun knew that these would be easy places to find vulnerable women. As in Korea, it is common for karaoke bars to employ hostesses to flirt with their patrons, in hopes to keep their customers around longer and further enjoy their time. Hostesses generally offer patrons nothing more than their own time, but it is at their own discretion what other services they may give once their shifts are over. It is here that Ho-sun met 45-year-old Kyung-mi Bae, and after catching her attention at the bar, the two shared a couple of drinks together. But Ho-sun was watching his drink limit, so he could remain sharp for his plans later. And once the night was over, Ho-sun used his charm to lure her back to his car, with the promise of a few drinks back at his place. And tragically, Kyung-mi accepted. She got into the passenger seat of his car, and the two drove off. And much in the fashion of his first victim, she was taken to a dark, uninhabited area, overpowered and then assaulted. And there was no change to his plans, as just like his first victim, she unfortunately met the same fate.
Damn. It's
Both
just
of these
easy for
murders
him.
painted a very morbid picture of Ho-sun's life moving forward. He had found himself a new, sick passion. He felt it gave him great power, and he wanted more. Targeting vulnerable women was his new favorite game, often picking on hostesses or women alone at bus stops. He would frequently charm them with his unmenacing appearance, while talking about his sons and showing pictures of himself with cute dogs, essentially playing on a
Dog that he killed. Oh, isn't this dog cute? Don't you think this dog is absolutely adorable? Oh, yeah, he's lovely. Fucking guess what? He's dead. I killed him with my own fucking hands because I'm a piece of fucking shit. Ah. Especially with power dynamic. I mean, yeah, men are just naturally stronger than women. But it's like, man just easily just killed two women. No problems. Just goes back to his regular day and then just continues to hunt and prowl for women. The fuck is going on with people?
mental disposition. Because after all, who'd expect a poor widowed father with two sons and who rescues dogs to be someone to avoid? This kind of seduction has been used by serial killers in the past, most notably by American serial killer Ted Bundy. Ted's unassuming and attractive appearance masked his true intentions when approaching his victims, a facade that ended in over 30 counts of homicide, and most likely, even more. As with most serial killers, if they aren't caught, they won't stop.
Wait, he rescued and killed dogs? That's fucked. Yeah, he took in stray dogs. Then proceeded to kill them and eat them because one of the husky that was shown on screen, he decided to put it onto his dinner table. So he ate them as well. So not only did he be like, oh, come here, little buddy, I'll save you, he also then proceeded to kill them and then eat them. Because he's a piece of shit. He killed over 50 dogs in the period of time before, I think, what is like first murder and then the wife of his, like the death of his wife. He went into this like frenzy of like killing animals. Killed loads of dogs, killed loads of livestock. And then killed a woman. And then went on a hunt again for another woman to kill. Like, what the fuck?
And this was no different for Ho-sun. His murderous killing spree continued. Just 10 days after murdering Bae and disposing of her body, Ho-sun once again took to the streets of Suwon, a city even closer to his hometown. And stalking the entertainment district of the city, he eventually found his next victim, a karaoke bar hostess named Sung-ah Park. Sung-ah humoured this strangely charming man, and throughout the evening...
Perhaps because he lost so much he believes others should too. No, it's generally just because he's a piece of shit. He got married twice before that wife who died. Both of them had children with him. Both of them he divorced. The second one he had kids with and then was like, you're pregnant, and then basically just fucking went off on her and then left her, but was complaining about like having to financially provide for his family, but then proceeded to apparently take his 2 sons with him. Don't really know what's happening to his sons now. I guess they're just living in the house and they're just functioning. I don't know. And then got together with another lady who then had. Wait, it was his fourth wife, no? Wasn't it his fourth wife? Oh yeah, he got with the third one. She was like, "I can't live with you," and then left him. So then that's where his like whole complex with women kicked in. And then he got with a fourth one, and then she had the massaging parlor business thing, and then she died in a fire, which is kind of a suspicious fire because it spread really quickly. And then he started killing dogs and livestock, and then he killed the first woman, and then he killed the second one, and now he's on his third one. So piece of shit, as you just a piece of shit, basically. I don't have any sympathy for him, and I hope. I don't know if South Korea has death penalty. Probably not. I don't know. Detective Sophie on the case. I am on the case. More like this case is well over and done with, but this guy is fucking bro. No words.
Hosun had manipulated his way into a place of trust with the hostess. They agreed to talking over drinks elsewhere. But Hosun was only going through the motions to get what he desired. He wanted Sung-ah in his car, then assault, then strangulation, and then the woods.
The same thing pretty much all
And
over again.
unfortunately for Sung-ah, that is exactly what he achieved. How long was Hosun going to get away with this? All of which was for a fleeting thrill. I wish I could tell you that his reign of terror ended here, and I also wish that I could tell you that he would be caught very soon. But unfortunately, that was very much not the case. As after Hosun claimed his third victim, he would in fact embark upon a 4-day killing spree at the beginning of the new year. It all started
4-day killing spree? What the fuck? Damn, he ugly. Apparently not to the Koreans. He apparently is a good looking guy. I think he looks creepy. There's a picture of him hugging a husky and his eyes are completely black, and I genuinely was scared of him. My heart kind of like was like, what the fuck? That's so creepy. Yeah, handsome as, yeah, he's ugly.
on the 3rd of January 2007 with Jungja Park, a 52-year-old office worker. And after that, Hae Young Kim, who was a 37-year-old karaoke bar hostess, followed on January the 6th. And next on January the 7th was Mi Yong Young, a 21-year-old university student. By the morning of the 8th of January 2007, a total of 7 women had fallen to the hands of Kang Ho-sun. Every single one of them was charmed with his good looks and smooth talking, and led into a false sense of security. He never appeared or acted how you'd expect a serial killer to behave. Yet, here he was, time after time, getting away with murder. And in sudden fear, Ho-sun grew scared. He decided to lie low until investigations blew over, likely noticing that his increased appetite had generated too much of a pattern. He focused on his finances instead, because rather conveniently, his wife had an active life insurance policy during the time that she died.
Foul fucking play. It's gotta be. It's gotta be. Because all of his other wives he had to provide for, and then the one lady who actually had a job, had a business, she tragically passes away in a fire that is semi-suspicious. They just never found any evidence of it being, like, foul play. Turns out she has a life insurance policy. He he done it. I don't think I don't think anything could convince me. They just didn't find the evidence. They didn't find like probable cause to accuse anybody of anything. I wonder how much it was. So if he jumped that, I ain't fucking jumping him. Bro could do some serious damage to me. I'm only small. I can't do shit.
And now was as good time as ever for him to make his claim. It turns out that Ho-sun had taken out life insurance and officially filed his marriage with his late wife only 5 days prior to the fire that killed her. Nevertheless, as suspicious as this would seem, his claim was successful, and his wife's payout cashed in a total of 600 million won, the equivalent of $500,000 US.
No suspicion. No suspicion. It's funny.
Despite the immoral circumstances, Ho-sun could now live a comfortable life while lying low. He wouldn't even have to work if he didn't want to. It took almost 2 years for Ho-sun to build up the courage to continue his dark escapade. He wasn't sure how much police knew, or even if they were still investigating. But in November of 2008, Ho-sun would finally strike again, and his process was exactly the same as before. His first target was a 48-year-old housewife who lived nearby in Suwon. And on the 9th of November, she unfortunately met her end. And the very next month, on the 19th of December, young Ok-an turned out to be the youngest of his victims. She was 19 years old and a university student in Ansan. But this time, the consequences to Ho-sun's actions would be very different, and the death of young Ok-an would finally come with justice. Ho-sun had technically gotten away with several murders, so why would this one be any different? As young Ok's disappearance turned from days into weeks, her family's concerns grew into desperate fear. And after a few weeks of silence, they had finally called the police to report their daughter as missing. Her family knew where she lived for university, and also knew that she took the bus to uni every day. And fortunately, just 2 months prior to her disappearance, new surveillance cameras were installed right next to the bus stop she frequented every day. It turns out, this was the location Ho-sun convinced Jung-ok to get in his vehicle, as surveillance cameras spotted a van picking her up. In addition to this, Ho-sun was becoming both cocky and naive, as this time he tried to withdraw money from her bank account, this resulting in his face being captured by the ATM surveillance camera.
Fucking
Investigators
idiot.
decided to release these images to the public, and not long after, on the 27th of January 2009, officers finally descended upon the farm of Ho-sun. At long last, his time was up. They had finally caught their serial killer. Ho-sun was arrested, and his farm formally seized for forensic investigation. While on the property, police found a mountain of evidence that suggested Ho-sun was involved in the murder of young Ok. And, to their surprise, more evidence was found to suggest that others had died here too. The obvious clue was the charred remains of 2 vehicles, one of which was the truck, which was spotted through surveillance cameras. While inside the farmhouse, investigators would find over 70 pairs of used women's underwear, some of which were soaked in blood, along with several blood-stained outfits. Although
Fuck.
Ho-sun was arrested on suspicion of young Ok's murder, the blood found on the clothing inside his house did not match her DNA. But upon questioning, he admitted to the murders of 7 other women, spanning from 2006 through to 2008. He would even lead police officers to the sites where he buried their bodies. And for his trial, he was taken to these locations to reenact the crime scenes, where he further elaborated on the details of his crimes. Ho-sun was almost cocky when talking about these murders, and even found it humorous how he was caught. And Ho-sun's troubles didn't stop there, as police once again opened up an investigation into the death of his wife and mother-in-law. Given the nature, Ho-sun's case was extremely popular across national media, and the revelation of Ho-sun's face was a point of much controversy amongst human rights activists. Many argued that Ho-sun's face should not have been revealed to the public, and instead should have stayed anonymous through his conviction. In
Why?
fact, this notion was so prominent that his case ended up changing the law in South Korea, and is the
I
reason
guess.
that
Oh
criminals
yeah,
are
people get to hide their face in Korea now if they're convicted, right? But this guy actually admitted to doing it. Took everybody everywhere. Why does he get to hide his face? Bruh.
identities are kept out of the public's eye in order to protect their families. Following his conviction,
I
Kang
get
Ho-sun
that,
formally
but
pleaded guilty to the murder of 8 women, but he denied murdering his wife or his mother-in-law. In trial, he expressed that he felt no remorse in his actions towards these women, and spoke about them as if they were merely pawns for his own desire. He evidently saw all women as a means of self-gratification and pleasure, and this was evident through his multiple wives, mistresses, and girlfriends. All of them were disposable to him. Following his trial, Kang Ho-sun was officially found guilty over 10 counts of murder, including the murder of his wife and his mother-in-law.
so
He
he
was
was
also
found
found
guilty.
guilty over 1 count of arson. And with capital punishment still legal in South Korea,
Oh,
on the 22nd of April 2009, he was officially sentenced to death for his crimes.
did he die?
However, with
Oh
South
shit,
Korea's
really?
last execution in 1997, it is unlikely that Ho-sun will officially be executed.
He's still alive?
Instead, he is likely to spend many more years rotting behind bars.
Good.
With South Korean law keeping strict anonymity around suspects and victims, it is hard to properly remember the 10 lives taken by Kang Ho-sun. But these women were all taken too soon, and most of them had lost their lives through a betrayal of trust. Although Hosun saw them as disposable objects, they were far from it. To many, they were a daughter, a sister, a mother, an aunt, a friend. Kang Hosun's case proves that no matter how friendly or charming someone may seem, it's important to exercise caution and keep yourself safe around those you don't know very well. And that just about wraps up today's case.
He's not dead, he's still alive. Wait. I'm Googling. Gonna Google this shit right now. Yep, he's still alive. Sadly. Sadly, he's still alive. But I'm glad that he was found guilty for the killing of his wife and his mother-in-law. I'm glad that at least happened. Because like, even if there's no evidence of it and there's still suspected foul play, there's no evidence that says he didn't do it. And it is suspicious. So I'm glad that they at least fucking found him guilty for that.